So I'm not going to get into all of the details that they talked about. Instead, I'm going to talk about how can we move forward in helping our clients, our applicants, in their green card process. And I think the key issue is to think about this in the future. And how do you analyze your client's case? And what's their background? What's their family situation? What's their work history? What's their education background? And it's almost serving as a counselor. You're doing a deep dive into these individuals' backgrounds to find out about themselves and their family members, to try to draw out the best in their cases and to try to figure out how to minimize the worst in their backgrounds. And so there are a number of different things that we can do in that regard to try to fight this. And I guess the big picture is, though, we still don't know how this is going to be carried out at the local offices or at the embassies. The immigration officers here in the New England district have not yet received guidance, and they've not yet received training on how to carry out interviews when someone is applying. Moving forward, right? It doesn't apply to somebody that's already had their application pending, but if someone files this week and they have their interview for their green card based on marriage to a U.S. citizen in 7 months, 9 months, what's going to happen then? So the good news is you have time now to help your clients prepare and to try to minimize whatever might be in their background that could be looked at as a negative factor. So a couple of things that can be done. One is a deep assessment regarding their financial history, their work history, their education, and their background. What is it in their case that can be used to help them? Do they demonstrate particular skills in areas? What's their job history been like? What's their prospects in terms of continuing their education? What are their prospects in terms of their financial literacy? There's an amazing program through the Office of Refugees and Immigrants, through the governor's office, that deals with financial literacy. So I would urge you all to reach out to them and to look into that. That's one way to help your client in the coming months in preparing themselves. The same when it comes to English language skills, right? Now more than ever, it's going to be important for these people to get out there and start taking classes and to improve their English skills, because those are factors that the government is looking at. And that's the problem, right? It's all so subjective, it's not objective. So we need to think outside of the box. We need to think about how can we help our clients, and this is going to help them beyond getting their green cards, right? This is going to help them acclimate to the United States quicker. It's going to help them get further in their lives and benefit them in a number of different ways. So a couple of the negative factors that I think are really important for us as advisors to these individuals to look for is, one, look at their medical exams, right? As part of the green card process, they're required to have a medical exam done by an authorized civil surgeon designated by CIS or by DHS. So maybe first, obviously, talk to your clients about their background, but if they do go and get a medical exam, look at the copy and find out, are there any Class B medical conditions that might affect their ability to get a green card, right? Is that going to be a negative factor? So again, digging. The second one is a joint sponsor. If they need a joint sponsor, that's going to be a big problem, right? And we're going to have to find ways of helping our clients use other angles if they do have a joint sponsor, because that will be a heavily weighted negative factor. And then there was one other negative one. The English language skills, right? So if the English language skills are weak, that's where then you want to work with them in the coming 7 to 9 months to make sure that they work on that. And so developing a list of resources for your clients. So for example, the financial literacy program that I talked about, getting their credit scores or reports now and finding out what are the weaknesses in there and finding ways to then help them in developing that, finding out about their health insurance and all of these other social factors that are deep in a person's life. Now we are playing detective. We're sitting with them, talking to them, and it's going to take a long time. And so setting their expectations and being thorough, creating a checklist to see where can you find ways to help them. And so creating a network of experts here. I'm not an expert in health law benefits or mass health or any of these things. I have these experts to go to ask questions, and the same then when it comes to like the immigration bar. AILA does have a resource online related to some of this information, which may be useful to some of you as providers, but also we have a list where you can search for immigration attorneys based on like a zip code or a city. So, you know, reach out to us. Let's try to find ways where we can collaborate to come together, because the subjective aspect of this is what's going to be the major problem. I just did want to make a couple of other points. Yeah, the credit score, the English language skills. Oh yes, the forms themselves are extremely convoluted and complicated, right? And I mean, we're all trying right now to figure out how do these forms, how will they really be read ultimately by the interviewing officer? And that's either here at CIS at a green card interview, or it's at an application point in the United States if a person is looking to extend their status or to change their status. So for example, someone might be here as a student at Northeastern University on a student visa and then needs to convert their visa to a work visa. People used to think, okay, that's not too complicated, and their employer will have an attorney process the paperwork for them. But now you have this added layer of trying to deal with public charge when these students are looking to transfer their visas to get an H-1B work visa, for example. And lastly, the forms are not as convoluted when it comes to the consular processing portion. So for example, someone sponsors a spouse who happens to be living overseas, right? They go through the immigration process here with first the family visa application, then it goes on to the second stage of the consular interview. And that consular officer is going to look at a form that looks somewhat similar to the 944 form, but it's called the DS5540. And it's roughly, let's say, 4 pages long. And it asks all kinds of detailed information. Do you currently have health insurance? Do you expect that you will have health insurance within 30 days of entering the United States? How is someone overseas going to be able to get health insurance within 30 days? It's going to be extremely difficult and complicated, but you can take certain steps to show that, look, I've made the effort to try to obtain health insurance. Here is my proof and my documentation that my spouse, for example, is applying for me to get health insurance through his company or through her company. So again, thinking outside of the box, being creative, looking at it from all angles is going to be important. And the only other one thing I want to say about the overseas, the application that will take place overseas at the State Department, is it asks about, you know, have you ever filed U.S. tax returns before? And have you ever worked in the United States but never filed tax returns? And that's actually going to be a trick question, because if you have worked but you haven't made enough money, then you would not necessarily be required to file tax returns, right? And so then that could potentially be used against you. So really sitting down, finding an attorney that's an expert in helping go through these forms, because if someone goes to the embassy and gets a denial, it's hard to rehabilitate a denial, but it's easier to try to do something before the person has their interview at the embassy.